It's August 1st, 1936, in Berlin. Around 5,000 athletes from 51 countries march into a stadium filled with over 100,000 spectators from across the globe, all gathered to witness one of the world's most prestigious sporting events, the Olympics. This particular Olympic Games would mark a historic moment, as it was the first to be broadcast live over the airwaves. As the opening ceremony unfolds, Adolf Hitler makes his entrance. The crowd watches in anticipation as the events are about to begin. Suddenly, a loud rumbling noise echoes from the sky. Above the heads of the spectators, a massive balloon appears with the Olympic Rings logo and the swastika symbol. No one gets their head down, looking with excitement, but no one knows that it's not just a balloon. It was the largest airship ever built, the Hindenburg, officially known as LZ-129. Therefore, it was the pride of Germany, with a remarkable track record that included 34 successful transatlantic crossings, which no other country's airship had ever achieved such a feat. But despite its impressive history, the Hindenburg on its 63rd flight was about to mark the end of the airship era. How a single rope would seal its fate. This is the tragic story behind the world's largest airship ever built. The story of the Hindenburg began 5 years before in 1932. It was a time when Germany's economy was crippled by the Great Depression. Therefore, construction of the Hindenburg was put on hold due to severe financial constraints, and the dream of completing the world's largest airship seemed difficult. But in 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power, the tides changed. The Nazi regime saw the Hindenburg as a potential tool for propaganda, a way to showcase German technological prowess to the world. To complete the construction, the Nazi government injected 2 million Reichsmarks into the project, but the total cost of building the Hindenburg reached a staggering $3 million. Even by 1930s standards, this was an astronomical figure, equivalent to around $60 million today. So why did it cost so much? Hindenburg is 245 meters in length. The Hindenburg was nearly 3 times the size of a modern Boeing 747-8. It was designed to be a floating palace in the sky, a luxury vehicle unlike anything the world had seen before. Initially, the Hindenburg was intended to be filled with helium, a safer, non-flammable gas. However, the US government passed the Helium Act of 1925, which banned the export of helium. With helium in short supply and prices rising, the Germans faced a difficult choice. They decided to use hydrogen instead, a gas that, while cheaper and more readily available, but it is a highly flammable gas. The gamble of using hydrogen was a risk everyone involved in the project understood, but no one could have predicted how devastating it would be. It's May 3rd, 1937 at Frankfurt Airfield in Germany. People are hanging out in the waiting room, ready to board the largest flying object ever made, the Hindenburg. The crew is busy prepping for the 63rd flight. Inspectors were making sure no one had lighters or matches, knowing the risk of hydrogen. Cleaning crews rushed to finish up. By 7:16 p.m., all 36 passengers were on board along with the 61 crew members, and the Hindenburg lifted off smoothly. Once airborne, passengers started exploring the luxurious airship. There was even a smoking room, specially pressurized to avoid any ignition risks. To add to the grandeur, an aluminium piano sat in the dining area, really setting the tone for a high-class experience. The airship flew over Cologne and England, and by 2 a.m. the next day, it had reached the Atlantic Ocean. But things didn't go entirely as planned. The weather had shifted, and the pilot had to battle through tough conditions to keep the flight on time. By noon on May 6th, the Hindenburg finally made it to Boston, about 7 hours behind schedule. Passengers were amazed, looking down at people in America who looked as tiny as ants from the sky. 3 hours later, the Hindenburg reached Manhattan. People in the city's skyscrapers waved up at the giant floating by. This is a stunning picture of the airship flying over New York's skyline, photographed by a photographer on an aircraft. Just 1 hour later, the Hindenburg approached its final destination, Lakehurst, New Jersey. But the weather had taken a turn for the worse. Dark clouds and strong winds made it hard to control the airship. The pilot had to wait for conditions to improve. Finally, around 6 p.m. weather got suitable for landing. The Hindenburg began its descent at around a total 12 hours delay. And now, a most dangerous air disaster was about to happen within a few minutes. The Hindenburg was right above the landing site. The landing pattern looked a bit different. The airship had to make an oval turn to line up for landing. But something was off. As it made the turn, people noticed the Hindenburg seemed a little off balance. The tail was dipping and the nose was slightly higher than it should be. In response, the pilot released hydrogen from the back for about 30 seconds. But even with that, the airship stayed in the same position. So the pilot had to release about 1,100 kilograms of water from the tail section, around ring 77, and added another 5-second hydrogen release from the front. But nothing seemed to work. The ship still wouldn't level out, so the captain ordered 6 crew members to head forward and add their weight to the front to try and balance things out. But despite all these efforts, the Hindenburg stayed off kilter. Later, the investigation found the reason behind the improper angle of the Hindenburg. There was a hydrogen leak in the backside. The Hindenburg had also built up static electricity as it passed through rainy clouds, which charged the ship negatively. At the same time, the captain ordered the crew to drop the landing lines. As those lines touched the ground, the positive charge from the crewmen on the ground and the negative charge from the Hindenburg could have caused a spark. And that tiny spark might have ignited the hydrogen gas. Within seconds, the entire airship went up in flames. The fire spread rapidly, and as the Hindenburg fell fast towards the ground, many passengers jumped out of the windows to escape. As seen in the footage, out of the 97 people on board, 62 survived, but sadly, 36 lost their lives. Compared to other airship crashes that happened before, the Hindenburg actually had one of the highest survival rates. So, why did this incident become so infamous? The simple answer is, it was the first airship disaster caught on film. All the other crashes happened far away from the public eye. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and help us reach more viewers. Thanks for watching, and good night.